Hi guys, and welcome to another video. So, getting right into it, the first idea we have is a savory tofu sandwich. So the first thing that I'm doing is cutting open a packet of firm tofu and then just patting off some of that excess moisture with a paper towel. And then I'm slicing these into long, like rectangular shapes almost, but I'm basically making, these two little like tofu rectangles or whatever to go in my sandwich, and I'm just putting that in a pan with some olive oil, and then I'm sprinkling over some nutritional yeast, some garlic powder, some red pepper flake, which is optional, but it gives it some nice spiciness, and then also I'm using liquid aminos here, but you could also use soy sauce or tamari. And then I'm cooking those for just a few minutes until they start to get crispy on one side, and then flipping those over. And this does take a while to cook, so just kind of like let it go for a while. And I'm putting the same kinds of seasonings on the other side. And so after probably like 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes per side, these tofu pieces will be just about done, really nice and crispy and flavorful. And then to go in my sandwich, I'm also cutting up some red bell pepper into these slices. And then to assemble these sandwiches, I am toasting up some sourdough bread, and then I'm spreading on some Yum sauce. So this is from Cafe Yum, which is a chain up in the Pacific Northwest, but it's just kind of like a vegan sauce, almond-based nutritional yeast and such. And then I'm putting on my tofu, and then I'm placing my bell peppers on top of that. And then I had this nice like salad mix that I was using, and I just kind of put that on top for some green and served that with some chopped strawberries as well. All right, so moving on to our idea number 2, this is a homemade hummus sandwich with some homemade sourdough bread. All right, so the very first thing we are going to do is make some homemade hummus. So I'm gonna put in a tin of rinsed chickpeas along with the juice of 1 lemon, a big pinch of salt. I used a lot of salt in this recipe, and then a lot of pepper as well, because it's kind of like a pepper flavored hummus. And then I also put some paprika and some chopped garlic. And then I didn't show you here, but you also want to add some tahini, and all the measurements will be in the description box below. And then you're going to go ahead and pulse this, and then you're going to drizzle in some olive oil while you're pulsing it, so it kind of all emulsifies together. And then throughout, just kind of scraping down the sides and continuing to pulse until you get a really soft texture. And of course, season as you go and taste it so you can get the flavor that you like. All right, and then when it's all done, it should look something like this, and I just transferred that into a little container, and I'm gonna use this in some of the other recipes later on. But yeah, this should store up in your fridge for quite a bit of time, so it's a really good thing you can just make on hand every week or whenever you're craving it. All right, so then I'm serving this with a little side salad, so I am grabbing some lettuce and placing that on my plate. And then I put some olive oil and some balsamic vinegar on top as a dressing. And then I toasted up some of that homemade sourdough bread that I was talking about and put that on the plate. Yeah, and this stuff was great. I cut it really thick. I don't know, whenever I make my own bread, I just like go hard and cut it super thick. But yeah, so I'm spreading my hummus over the top of this. I also sprinkled on some red onion before I put it in the fridge. So that's on top of that. And then I'm chopping up some tomato, along with some red bell pepper, and I'm placing that on top. And then I'm sprinkling on some red pepper flake because I really like my open-faced sandwiches kind of spicy. And yeah, this is what I had. I ended up adding some blackberries to the side too, just for a little bit of fruit. But yeah, it was super good. All right, for idea number 3, this was one of my favorites. It's a tofu teriyaki wrap. So I'm first taking one of these like uncooked tortillas that you can buy at the store, and I'm cooking that over a low heat with no oil. I just put it straight in the pan, and I also use my hands. And then I'm taking some leftover tofu teriyaki that I made the other night, and I'll link a recipe down below, and just cutting this up, and it kind of looks almost meaty. I don't know, something about it being in the fridge. It's really firm tofu. Yeah, but it was so good. So then I'm also chopping up some red onion. You can really use any veggies that you have on hand. I just had some of this that I needed to use up. And then I'm also taking that hummus that we made in the other video, and I'm going to use this in this recipe. So I'm taking my wrap, I'm spreading in a good amount of the hummus, and then I'm adding in my tofu, and then sprinkling over the top that red onion. And then I'm taking more of this infamous salad mix, and I'm putting that inside of my wrap as well. And then I tried very hard to actually wrap it and was like 70% successful, but we tried, you know, it's tough. And that is what the inside looks like. This was so good, you guys. Like, I honestly can't tell you enough. And then I served it with some more lettuce on the side. And with this, I dressed it with some organic tahini, along with a little bit of the balsamic vinegar and the olive oil, and then I also put some red onion on top too. And then I love to have fruit without like whatever lunch I'm eating, so I had some frozen mango that was really frozen, and I had to like cut it up into pieces, but I added that to the side as well. And that is the completed wrap. So moving on to our last idea, this is just super simple avocado hummus and tomato toast, but it's just really good. Like, for instance, again, the bread is homemade and the hummus is homemade, and little things like that just make something like this so fresh and so good. Obviously, if you don't make your own bread, that's okay. It's still really good. The first thing I'm doing is slicing up a really nice red tomato to go on top. And then I'm also cutting up some bell pepper. You guys can probably see a trend with the vegetables that I like to consume during lunchtime. And then I'm taking half of an avocado, and I'm just cutting this into slices. And then I'm taking 2 pieces of toasted bread, and I'm first going to spread on some of that homemade hummus mixture. And then I'm taking that half of an avocado and just splitting it between the 2 pieces of bread. And then I'm taking my sliced tomatoes and putting those on top, and my tomatoes were just way too big, but I just went for it. And then, of course, my bell pepper, and I'm just serving that on the side with the rest of the hummus kind of like as a dip, because there's just no way it could fit on top of my open-faced sandwich. But yeah, I sprinkled that with salt and some red chili flake, and that is what I had for lunch this day. So overall, I love all these recipes. They're so good. I love having lots of veggies and some kind of protein or something in the middle of the day. And yeah, even though we're at home, we can still find some fresh produce, hopefully, and get in those greens and kind of spring-themed foods. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video, and I'll see you in the next one.